We all know the story. Julius Caesar, the powerful ruler of Rome, was stabbed to death by his closest allies. But what if we've been told only part of the truth? What if the real mastermind behind his assassination wasn't Brutus or Cassius, but someone even closer to Caesar? Caesar's murder on the Ides of March, 44 BC, is one of the most infamous betrayals in history. For centuries, we've been taught that his assassination was the result of jealous senators who feared he would make himself king. But was it really that simple? Some historians believe the conspiracy ran much deeper. Could one of Caesar's trusted allies have played a hidden role? And what if his last words weren't actually "Et tu, Brute," but something far more revealing? Caesar's death wasn't just the end of a man, it was the end of the Roman Republic. But the truth behind that moment may have been rewritten over time. Who stood to benefit from his murder? And how did his assassination change Rome forever? Let's find out in this video. Born in 100 BC, Julius Caesar came from a noble but not overly wealthy family, meaning he had to rely on his intelligence, charisma, and military skill to rise through the ranks of the Roman Republic. From an early age, Caesar understood that power in Rome was about alliances, influence, and bold decisions. His real breakthrough came with his conquest of Gaul, 58 to 50 BC. Over nearly a decade, he expanded Rome's territory to modern-day France and Belgium, proving himself as one of the greatest generals of his time. Caesar's victories made him a hero to the Roman people. His soldiers were fiercely loyal, and the public admired him for his generosity and leadership. However, not everyone saw him as a hero. The Roman Senate, led by Pompey the Great, feared Caesar's growing popularity and military success would make him too powerful. They ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen, a clear attempt to strip him of power. But in 49 BC, Caesar made a decision that changed history. Instead of submitting to the Senate, he led his army across the Rubicon River, an act of open defiance that meant civil war was inevitable. Over the next few years, he defeated Pompey and his supporters, eventually taking full control of Rome. By 45 BC, he was the undisputed ruler, and in 44 BC, he was given the title Dictator for life. This move sent shockwaves through the Senate. To many, it looked like the Republic was on the verge of collapse, with Caesar one step away from becoming a king, something Rome had rejected for centuries. But were the senators truly acting to save the Republic? Or were they simply protecting their power? Were their fears justified? Or was Caesar's growing influence just an excuse for his enemies to take him down? Moving on, we'll look at how Caesar's dictatorship created enemies and set the stage for one of history's most infamous betrayals. By 44 BC, Julius Caesar was the most powerful man in Rome. His victories in the war had made him a hero to the people, and his political reforms were reshaping the Republic. But power came at a cost. Not everyone was happy with his rule. As dictator for life, Caesar made sweeping changes. He restructured the Senate, adding more members who were loyal to him. He introduced economic reforms, gave land to poor citizens and veterans, and rewarded his allies with positions of power, ensuring his influence over Rome. To many ordinary Romans, Caesar was a leader who gave them hope. But to the elite senators, he was a growing threat. The Republic had always prided itself on being ruled by elected officials, not kings. And despite Caesar rejecting a crown when it was offered, many feared that he would eventually make himself king. Among those most concerned were Brutus and Cassius, two influential senators. Brutus, once a close friend of Caesar, saw himself as a defender of Rome's traditions. Cassius, on the other hand, was more politically driven. He had lost power under Caesar and wanted it back. But were they the masterminds behind what was about to happen? Or were they manipulated by others who had even more to gain? What started as whispers of resistance would soon turn into a deadly conspiracy. Now let's talk about the plot to kill Caesar and the shocking events of that fateful day. On March 15th, 44 BC, the Ides of March, Julius Caesar walked into the Senate, unaware that he was walking into a trap. The men who once called him a leader and friend were waiting for him, but they weren't there to discuss politics. As Caesar took his seat, the attack began. One senator grabbed his toga, pulling it down to expose his chest, while another struck the first blow with a dagger. What followed was a brutal scene. Nearly 60 conspirators, including Brutus and Cassius, stabbed him repeatedly. Some historians say Caesar tried to fight back, while others claim he simply covered his face with his toga, accepting his fate. The final stab was said to come from Brutus, a man Caesar once trusted like a son. But the bigger question remains: was Brutus truly the leader of this conspiracy, or was he just a pawn in a larger game of power? In the days after the assassination, it became clear that the conspirators had miscalculated. They thought Rome would celebrate Caesar's death, believing they had saved the Republic. Instead, they had thrown the city into chaos. Mark Antony, Caesar's closest ally, turned the people against the assassins with a powerful funeral speech. Caesar's will revealed that he had left money and land to the Roman citizens, making him even more loved after his death. Octavian, Caesar's adopted heir, used the assassination to claim power, eventually becoming Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. Rather than stopping a dictatorship, the assassins had sealed the fate of the Republic. Within a few decades, Rome would no longer be ruled by a senate. It would be an empire, controlled by a single ruler. So, did the conspirators believe they were saving Rome? Or were they just eliminating a man who stood in their way? And what about the words we associate with that moment? Et tu, Brute. Were they truly spoken? Or were they a later invention that changed how we remember history? Before we wrap up today's video, let's explore the truth behind this famous phrase, and whether history has been rewritten to make the betrayal even more dramatic. For centuries, we've been told that Julius Caesar's final words were a heartbroken whisper to his friend and betrayer. Et tu, Brute. You too, Brutus. The phrase has become one of the most famous lines in history, symbolizing ultimate betrayal. But was it ever actually spoken? The truth is far less poetic. Ancient Roman historians never recorded Caesar saying these words. The earliest and most reliable sources, like Plutarch and Suetonius, mention that Caesar was attacked suddenly and may not have spoken at all. Dio Cassius, another historian, suggested that if he did say anything, it was likely in Greek, not Latin, possibly calling Brutus "my child" in disbelief. So, where did "et tu, Brute" come from? In 1599, over 1,600 years after Caesar's death, William Shakespeare wrote his famous play, Julius Caesar. The phrase didn't come from history, it was written for drama. Shakespeare's line helped create a powerful moment on stage, making Brutus's betrayal feel even more personal and tragic. Over time, the play's version of events became more well-known than the real history. But this isn't just about what Caesar did or didn't say. It's about how history is shaped by those who tell the story. Events from the past are often rewritten, exaggerated, or simplified to fit a certain narrative. Did Et tu, Brute make Caesar's story more dramatic? Yes. But did it happen? Probably not. This raises a bigger question. How much of what we know about history is fact, and how much is storytelling? How many other famous moments have been reshaped over time? Julius Caesar's assassination was more than just a murder. It was the beginning of the end for the Roman Republic. But was his death truly about saving Rome? Or was it just another power struggle disguised as patriotism? In the end, the real question isn't what Caesar said in his final moments, but what his death meant for the future of Rome. Julius Caesar's assassination changed the course of history. What was meant to save the Roman Republic instead led to the rise of the Roman Empire. But was his murder really about protecting democracy, or was it just a power grab by his rivals? What do you think? Were the conspirators true defenders of the Republic, or were they simply eliminating a man who stood in their way? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories from the past. And hit the notification bell so you never miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.